If you're thinking about making a move to Raleigh and you want to know what locals really think about living in the area, we are going to be taking a look at Reddit, where people have no shame in their opinions, and you're going to get a good look at it, so stick around.
All right, so the way this is gonna work, we're gonna read comments directly from Reddit. We're gonna hit some pros, we're gonna hit some cons, and then we're gonna give our thoughts on how accurate we think that these comments are. So we're gonna start with the pros. So the very first comment that was in a Reddit thread about moving into Raleigh comes from Optimal Presence 243. He says, or she says, high-paying jobs, great schools, talking about the Raleigh area, high-paying jobs, great schools, great healthcare, great place to raise a suburban family, lacking in the nature department, and in my opinion, unless you drive to the mountains or the beach. So I wanna hit that first section because that's the pro section of the comment, and then we'll talk about that second part of the comment. So actually, I think they're spot on with this. When you look at the school system in our region, a lot of the school systems rank very highly within North Carolina. So our area, when you're looking at like Wake County or Orange County or the Chapel Hill Carborough School District, whatever it is, those school systems rank very highly within our region. For the most part, I mean, we don't have, Bay Area salaries or New York City salaries, but there are good paying jobs here, and there's quite a few good paying jobs. In fact, Durham has the highest private paying jobs in the entire state. Yeah. So higher than the Charlotte region. So you've got some like powerhouse economic centers within a region. And then talking about Duke and tying that to great healthcare, you've got great healthcare here, whether it's Duke, UNC, Wake Med. There's multiple healthcare institutions here that are just really top notch.
Yeah, and I think all of these things kind of lend themselves to helping one another out, because we have really great healthcare that's tied to the university systems here with UNC and Duke, which also ties to like a lot of job opportunities of people, and then those people's, that are working within the university system, they just have a maybe higher priority of education for their kids, so then their kids are in the school system here. So all of these things I think kind of are like this: if you have this, it's gonna lead good here. If you have that, it's gonna be here. So you have a lot of that because we have such a strong university system. In the Triangle area. We don't just have UNC, it's UNC, it's NC State, it's Duke, it's and in a lot of smaller colleges too. You have NC Central, you've got Meredith College, a lot of small universities in the Raleigh area. So just a lot of opportunity here that with those universities that bring a lot of employment because of the hospital systems that they have, and then just bring a lot of good talent to the area. Yeah,
for sure.
And as far as that second half of his comment that said there's a lacking element of nature here, I could not disagree more with that comment. I think if you live in isolation and you don't go out, maybe you would feel that way because we're not like in the mountains, or we're not right.
And I'm sure there's, who knows where they came from? Maybe there is better.
Right, yeah. I mean, you could have been coming from a place where you're like right next to a national park or something, and like, everything is relative. But I think in general, when you're thinking about the Raleigh area, that's actually one of the biggest pros that you'll find a lot of people talk about, is how much access to nature there is. And there was even a commenter below him that, or her, that said, actually, that's not true. They started listing all of these different places you can go. Tanager of Scarlet. And she said access to nature is way better than described by other posters. There's plenty of great state parks for hiking within easy driving distance. You have Umstead State Park in Raleigh, the Eno River going through Durham. Mountains can be reached in a bit over 2 hours, or the Uaries.
The Uaries, I grew up near the Uaries, and that is a fantastic place. Not a lot of people know about it. It's a national forest. It's more on the Charlotte side. Incredible area. I don't want to give out any kind of secrets because I love it. I love the quiet. I mean, it may not be quiet anymore, but that comment right there. That is a fantastic area that's not too far from here.
Yeah, for sure. And and this gets said all the time, obviously you have really easy access to the beach in the mountains, but I think you don't have to leave Raleigh to have good nature access. You've got a lot of access to lakes and things in the area. So if you are into kayaking or you want to camp out by the lake, there's a lot of access to that and a lot of good hiking trails and stuff in this area too. So if you want to be in nature, you can definitely find it.
For sure. All right, the next pro we're gonna hit comes from Everyone Hates Joe, which is another Redditor. Is it Redditor? I don't know. Redditor. I don't spend a lot of time on Reddit, but anyway.
I think that sounds
it was another Reddit thread about moving to Raleigh. They said, I love it here. I think there is something for everyone. The food scene is great. There's breweries, bars, etc. for everyone. There's walking trails, museums, and other attractions outside, right in between the beaches and the mountains. Of course, you'll have to drive. And downtown is growing and thriving. I mean, I feel like I agree with everything that's said here. There really is, I think, for the most part, something for everyone. And it may not be in Raleigh. Like obviously, this video is focusing on Raleigh. There's so many towns and small suburbs or cities throughout the region. Maybe Raleigh isn't for you, maybe Durham's for you, or maybe Chapel Hill's for you, or whatever it is. But our region has a diverse selection of different towns and cities that have different vibes. And I think that's really beneficial.
Yeah, for sure. There really is somewhere for everyone here, like Zach mentioned, because there's so many suburbs around the Raleigh area that offer very unique cultures that they just have their own unique culture.
Yeah.
So, there's really somewhere where you're going to spend some time here and be like, okay, once I've spent some time in the area, I can figure out where it works well for me, depending on what your lifestyle is, what you're looking for in a home or budget or anything around that. Like, you're gonna find the place that you probably want to be here. And this comment was actually, some of these comments have been on Reddit for a long time. This one was 4 years ago. Yeah. So it's really interesting because he said, downtown is growing and thriving 4 years ago. And that is very, very true and still something happening. We have, since he just made this comment, there has been so much growth downtown. Like, it's really wild how much is really going on down there. Then so much growth in like the parks and all of that have happened in the area. So this is just an area that it's not stale here. Things are continuing to improve and change and get better and better over time.
Yeah, and I mean, there a common theme that people love about the area is the distance between the mountains and the beach. But I mean, like this commenter said, like, you do have to drive, and it's not, depending on your stage of life, like for us with a lot of small kids, it's not a day trip. Not even close to being a day trip. But different stages of life, like the beach could be a day trip or the mountains could be a day trip. But at the very least, it's a weekend trip where you can get there relatively easily.
Yeah, for sure. Another pro that is commonly thrown out for the area is that it's very family friendly. So a lot of people moving to the area want to know, hey, I've got kids. We want them to have a good quality of life here. Is this going to be a good place to raise a family? And you'll hear that time and time again that it is. One of these comments on Reddit, unfortunately, they have deleted their profile, so their name is just deleted.
I used to think that was their actual name.
Maybe it is, maybe they're tricking us up. But they had a great comment because they said there's tons of kids activities like trampoline parks, indoor play spaces, museums, etc. Amazing outdoor play spaces. Wake County has incredible playgrounds. Anytime we travel, we're reminded of this. Tons of daycare and summer camp and after school activities. Sports leagues for kids are ample. YMCA access. Farms in the fall for pumpkins and hay rides. Ice rinks, tons of Christmas stuff. Strawberry picking, millions of pools. Close enough to the in-beach or mountains for a weekend getaway. Decent restaurants in Raleigh-Durham and Cary. Good beer. Airports close by. I literally can't fathom living in a place without these things.
This person's like a walking billboard for our region.
Right.
I mean,
if your name is deleted, come join us on a video. But these are all really good points. I know that some of those things feel small, right? Like pumpkin patches. Of course, you're going to find that across the country, but there's like maybe not everywhere here. Yeah, like I'm always wanting to take our kids to a new one or a different one. There's just a lot for kids here. Like they mentioned, indoor play spaces. There's so much that you'll never hit it all, and there's never gonna be a type of weather or day that goes by where there's not some kind of kid activity that's going to be a good solution for that day. And so there just is a lot here. There is a lot of playground access, especially in Wake County. So I think they're just keep adding more and more and more stuff. Like the Gypsum Play Plaza at Dix Park is incredible, and I think it's just like very inspiring. I think we're gonna see more and more large attractions like that come to our area because it is a very family-friendly area.
All right, so moving on to the cons, and I'm actually really excited about this. So the first con the first con's my favorite one. Comes from Nacho Fries 9. I think my favorite part of this video are the people's names.
Yes.
So,
and the con names are way better than the pro
they're
names.
great. They're fantastic.
They're all great.
All right, so Nacho Fries 9 said, Raleigh is considered the big city by the people who live in rural North Carolina. If you're coming from another actual city, Raleigh's probably underwhelming. Raleigh's the type of place that people from small towns 2 hours away will visit on the weekends just to eat at the Cheesecake Factory. So a lot of hostility towards the Cheesecake Factory.
And it gets better with the comments underneath this because people are coming after Cheesecake Factory. Someone, Anon, I guess that's anonymous, 36485 said, such a great description of Raleigh. The entire area is an endless carpet of cheesecake factories.
There's only one Cheesecake Factory in Raleigh.
There's only one.
And there's only one in Durham. And so our region has two cheesecake factories.
Two in the whole region.
But, however, I do think there are some valid points to what Nacho Fries 9 is saying.
Unlayer it to find the themes of what he means here.
I think what this Redditor, assuming that's how we define people who comment on Reddit.
That's how we define it. I don't know if everybody else.
But I think what they're trying to say is this area is vanilla.
Yeah.
And I think there's some truth to that, and I've mentioned that in some of our other videos. I do think the Raleigh area is kind of boring to a degree. I like boring, so I like that. But if you're looking for an area that's like never goes to sleep, that's not Raleigh.
Right.
But so I think that's what this person is trying to communicate. And it isn't like if you're coming from New York City or something like that. Like It's not a real big city. Raleigh's not a big city, but we also don't have people driving 2 hours to go to the Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, I don't think they're coming
It's not happening.
And I think it's what you make
Charlotte's
of it, right?
2 hours away, roughly, right? Like, why would you? Anyway, it's funny. I love this comment.
But as much as we like to say it's vanilla, like I feel like there is a huge food scene here, but you gotta go more like in the downtown area, like the Cheesecake Factory is at Crabtree Valley Mall. If you're going to Crabtree Valley Mall for dinner, you're gonna find a lot of
chains.
Chains, right? Like, I mean, that's just reality, right? A lot of strip malls are just gonna have like those chains. But when you get into like downtown, whether that's downtown Raleigh or downtown Durham, which is really known for a big foodie scene, like there's a ton of award-winning restaurants here and a lot. Like nobody is gonna, if you travel to this area, I promise you, you're gonna have a lot better options than just the Cheesecake Factory.
For sure.
But you know what? If you are like Pink Botwow here, he said, well, now you're selling it to me because I guess he really loves Cheesecake Factory.
I like Cheesecake Factory.
If you just if you want a little cheesecake, the menu is a little overwhelming there. It's like a 3-part novel. It's got a lot of options, but there are other options besides the Cheesecake Factory. But if you like the Cheesecake Factory, we do have one Cheesecake Factory in Raleigh that you can go to. All right, so our next con is from Crazy Cat Lady 331. I just love the screen name. Crazy Cat Lady. Her comment was kind of long, but I'm just gonna dish to where she talks about the cons. And she says, public transit is abysmal and traffic is awful in all caps. As in, don't drive on the interstate at certain times of day as it's just a parking lot. A good train system would alleviate some of this traffic. Not that much in the way of things to do or unique experiences. A lot of endless strip malls and cookie cutter HOA neighborhoods. Also summer heat and humidity. I hate summer.
I mean, again, there's some public transportation, not great here.
Yeah, I mean,
not great.
That is not a lie.
100% true.
I mean, there's some buses, but it is abysmal is a great way to describe it. I think some people come here thinking it's gonna be really easy to get around without a car, and that's if you move here, you gotta have a car. If you're married, you gotta have 2 cars. You're not gonna it's gonna be hard to make life work as without a car or with only one car between 2 people. That's gonna be pretty difficult because most places of employment or whatever, you're probably gonna have to commute there with a car, unless you just happen to have a job downtown and you get a downtown apartment. I mean, there are some exceptions to these rules, but 99% of people are gonna have to get in a car to get to work or
Yep.
grocery store or school.
And the comment about traffic being awful. So what I've learned with helping a lot of folks relocate to the area is traffic is entirely subjective. If you're coming from Los Angeles, traffic here is not going to be bad. You're not going to find it bad at all. If you're coming here from a tiny little town in, the Midwestern states or whatever, like traffic's gonna be bad. Like it's gonna feel very, very, very crowded. And so, or if you're just a local here, you're gonna think like I think traffic's bad, but I grew up in a smaller town, and so like that's just my lens in which I see traffic through. So
but I do think it also depends on,
there are some valid
right. The traffic is awful if you're having to go on certain segments of the highway at certain times of day. I mean, we can get in and out of Raleigh through to Durham, like some directions we go with no traffic, but then if you have to get onto, like if you have to get on 40 or parts of like 147, like at between like 4 and 6 or 880, 885 now. It can be kind of bad in some of those stretches, but then others are not. So like Zach said, it's really just subjective. It depends on where you live and proximity to where you're going to, obviously. But I think in general, it's not like I think parking lot is probably not the most true description in my opinion.
No, I
but
wouldn't
there
think so.
definitely are parts of Raleigh that can be.
The other comment I want to hit on with two more. Cookie cutter HOA neighborhoods really just depends on where you are. I mean, are there parts of our region with nothing but cookie cutter neighborhoods? 100%. Are there other parts of our region where those just don't exist at all? Also 100% true. And so really just depends on where you are, but you can find both. Like if you want to avoid the cookie cutter neighborhoods, it's possible. Just depends on where you live. And then the summer part, heat and humidity, also true. I mean, summer's brutal here. It is not, if you watch some of our videos, we talk about how the seasons are mild. And what we mean by that is like they're shorter, right? So we have a winter, we have a spring, we have a summer, we have a fall. We don't have 9 months of summer like Florida. Right. And so our summers are brutal, but they're not Florida length either.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. And it's by brutal, I think the humidity here is just like something that you're not used to. Humidity will hit you in the face like pretty hard. If you don't like humidity or you're not used to humidity, it will definitely feel very humid to you in the summer especially.
All right, so next con we're gonna talk about is from Boring Swan 1960. Boring Swan said, I find it ugly and boring. My friend moved there. It is hot in the summer, sprawly, that's very true. Go and visit to see if you like it. That is also like that nugget of advice right there. That's what we tell everybody who's looking to relocate here. Make a visit into the area before you decide to actually move into the area. And believe it or not, we've had folks who've never been here and they decide to move here.
And they don't even tour the houses.
They
just buy it on.
It's pretty wild.
Like a FaceTime call.
Comment goes on, most North Carolina cities demolished a lot of their historic buildings. I don't really know what that means. The area is expensive too. Areas not too southern, lots of transplants. I prefer Richmond in Virginia. So again, the ugly and boring comment, like I kind of relate that back to cookie cutter HOA neighborhoods. Just depends on where you are. Like there are areas, historic areas, different than what this comment says.
That have not been torn down.
They have not been torn down with beautiful homes that have been there for decades and decades and decades.
Centuries.
Maybe a century. Like centuries would be.
Yeah, not
I mean, it depends. You know, there are areas where you can find that, especially like Hillsborough. But again, it just depends on where you are. Like if there are parts of our region that are really beautiful, and there's parts of our region that are very cookie cutter. Sprawly, 100% true. This area is very sprawling. And folks don't always realize how sprawling it is until they get here, and it's substantial.
It really is. And sometimes people don't know, do I want to live in Raleigh or Cary or Wake Forest or Chapel Hill or Clayton? And it is so important, like she said, go and visit and see if you like it, or just see which part you like, because it's kind of unfair to even just come and only look at Raleigh and then decide you don't like the Triangle region as a whole, because you might actually really like one of those other towns. So I think the best thing you can do is come, if you can spend at least more than a weekend would be ideal because of that sprawl, right? Like if you really don't know which segment of the triangle you want to be in, having just like one full day on a Saturday is just not enough time because you're going to be driving back and forth. And by the time you do that, you don't really get to sit and enjoy and get a feel of what it feels like to actually live in an area if all you're doing is like doing a couple home tours and then leaving, right? Like you want to come and enjoy the restaurants and the parks and things like that.
For sure. But if you are looking to move into the area, we are Zach and Cindy Honeycutt, a couple of real estate agents in the area, and you can find our contact info below, and you can also find us on Instagram.
Yep, we'd love to have you follow along with us on Instagram. You can find us at the Honeycutt Realtors, and we look forward to chatting with you there.
Yep, see you next time.